Three, two, one. This is Arsenal Fan Circle, Season 2, Episode 24. And yeah, we're in uncharted territory right now. It's almost, Mahir, it's almost like the summer has just happened and we don't have any football. But we're here to inform and hopefully entertain a little bit um, all fans and Arsenal fans alike. Mahir?
Yeah, man. Hello everybody, and shout out to Rohan and Tony becoming our regulars here. Shout out to them for joining us. Shout out to all our subscribers for watching, and welcome to another episode of the podcast, Arsenal Fan Circle.
Rohan, you told us on Thursday that you were going to be traveling. How was it for you? You actually flew back from Seattle yesterday.
Yeah, so I flew back from Seattle yesterday back to New York. From the epicenter in the US to now what is turning out to be the biggest hub for coronavirus in the US. And New York is absolutely a ghost town right now. Manhattan, which is always hustling and bustling, the city never sleeps, but it's absolutely vacant there. People are in their homes, and schools are canceled. Everything is shut. Offices are recommending that you work from home. So yeah, I mean that's how that's how it's going. And from what I understand, this is the first time since World War II that the football season has been interrupted.
Yeah,
So we do understand how big this is. But yeah, I mean, thanks to all my Gooner friends, that there's a bit of sanity, there's human interaction still going on apart from work and apart from family. There's some outside interaction, and with everyone who's watching, it's always great to be in touch. So yeah,
yeah,
we'll get through this.
yeah. We'll get through this. Very important, like we mentioned on Thursday, that to continue the social distancing, keep 5 or 6 feet away. By all means, you don't have to stay cooped up in the house as well. You can go out and go for a walk, play in the field with your kids, all these things. Tony, how are you feeling? Take a temperature on how you're feeling right now.
I'm feeling fine.
Yeah.
Uh,
Any words to give out to the YouTube land here, Arsenal fan circle?
just watch rubbing your eyes and licking your mouth and nose. Don't do that.
Right. Very good. So let's get started in some Arsenal related. It's not going to be as heavy. I think we went on the last podcast, went pretty heavy on the coronavirus. And if you had a lot of people watched it. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you learned some things. Like we said on Thursday night, we are not experts, but any kind of information that we're passing on, listen to the medical people, listen to the information you're getting through the media, um, and follow their instructions, and hopefully this thing will peak and start dying away then in the weeks and maybe a couple months to come, because I think it will be 6 to 8 weeks probably. But we wanted to start off today with an update on Mikel Arteta. And Tony, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, his wife said, "I want to thank you for all the messages and support." Mikhail is feeling better. It's true that he had symptoms of a virus, but thankfully there is nothing major for him. It's just temperatures and headache. The kids and I are perfectly fine.
Good. So that's Mahir. That's good news. Arteta is young, healthy, and he will get through it.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we keeping good hygiene standards, for example, here in South Africa, what we're actually doing is even by my work, as soon as a customer comes in, he's not forced to, but it's advised that we spray his hands with sanitizer,
Yeah.
and possibly I think we're going to implement masks. And if it does get too serious, I think they will cancel off work, which would be a good thing. But they need to figure out some plan, like a country plan, for example, like Italy. where they're shutting down, and then people are not having to pay their mortgages also, which is
Yeah,
it's a good
there's
thing.
getting some mortgage relief for, I believe, 3 months, up to 3 months. Um, Not here. Any news on Hudson Odoi as well? He's another one who's been infected or affected, and there's also been some players from Leicester and Manchester City that are under self quarantine,
Uh,
self
the best,
isolation.
the best person to ask would be our regulars.
Our two experts there.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, your co-host has I've been sleeping all day,
Yeah,
so please excuse me for that. Though
you didn't do your homework. You didn't do your homework, man. Here.
naughty
All right, let's
corner,
go to this guy, Rohan.
naughty corner.
Any news further on Hudson Odoi? I believe he's doing okay.
Yeah, so he put out a video, right? Like he put out a video, and the video seemed pretty positive, where he said that he was doing all right. So that gives some confidence, not just as a football fan, but just as a human being, to know that somebody who has contracted it is doing all right, or is in high spirits, or at least is well enough to come out and talk to other people via social media, just gives that sort of confidence. There are some of these videos that have come out from Napoli, I think, where people are standing in their balconies and they're playing music, and everybody's sort of, in their balconies, and they're singing along, etc. That's just a testament to human resilience, etc.
Exactly.
You just get through it, and everybody's in this together, and so are all of these players. So and managers. So Mikel Arteta, hopefully he will get better soon. Like you said, he's young, he's a fit individual. So and it's right now, it's treated like a virus, right? So it has to, like, sort of get out of your system by itself.
Yeah, exactly. I think you make a good point there, Rohan, that the human spirit will overcome and we will find ways to interact. That's what we're doing right here. We're all interacting, we're all checking in with each other. And we have to do
Exactly.
that for our family and especially the elderly. But I also had a statement here from the Premier League, which probably precipitated. We were all talking about this on Thursday if the league would actually Premier League would actually shut down games, and that's what's actually has happened. I think most of us predicted that they had to do that because you just could not have large crowds continue to gather. I mean, Cheltenham went ahead. It's a big racing festival in England. Liverpool game, the Manchester United derby went ahead last weekend. So the Premier League were probably forced to do this because of what happened to Arteta and Hudson Odoi. And I have a
Yeah.
statement here from them. An emergency meeting was held at which they decided to pause all matches for a 2 week period. But I believe it's probably 30 days, right? They go on to say, following a meeting of shareholders today, it was unanimously decided to suspend the Premier League with the intention of returning on the 4th of April, subject to medical advice and conditions at the time. Premier League Chief Executive Richard Masters said, above all, we wish Mikel Arteta and Callum Hudson Odoi speedy recovery. So they have Rohan. They took the right decision there for
No,
the
yeah,
interim.
I think so. We were talking last week on Thursday, and we were all sort of on the Premier League's back as to how they're putting everyone at risk by continuing. They were the last of the major leagues, I think, to stop the games, or to give information to people that the games wouldn't continue. And it was just shocking the way it was being handled. But at the end of it, I think Mikel Arteta contracting it, and Hudson Odoi, the seriousness has hit the right places, and they seem to be they seem to be taking stock. And I'm glad that they haven't taken an extreme measure from one side to the other to say that now it's canceled. They're taking a few weeks, and then they're deciding whether, what to do. what the world situation is. So that's the right way, I think.
Yeah,
Although in my personal opinion, I'm not sure whether we will continue having that, having the season, or how we're gonna finish it, because there's just so much to do, and 3 weeks seems like a short time.
short
But
time indeed.
we'll have to see how it evolves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's going
actually,
to evolve, right, my here?
yeah, they're in talks at the moment with exactly what's going to happen, how it's going to operate, because there's a few options, such as, for example, it being totally void and we just continuing next season on fresh legs. Fix a lot of financial stuff as well. And or there's another option where they're saying perhaps everybody's position last year is going to be the next seasons. So, for example, we will be in fifth, and we do know Manchester City can't have been banned for 2 seasons. So, looks like we might be getting Champions League through that way for some apparent reason, which is actually a joke. It's actually kind of funny, you know. And with all the serious issues that have been happening, I think it's good that we sometimes have something for us to have a laugh about,
Yeah.
because things to get very
Um.
serious.
So the
Guys,
statement,
prayers. Sorry, Ray. I just want to go make prayers. I'll be back in about 5-10 minutes.
yeah, go for it. So Tony and Rohan, the statement goes on to say, in this unprecedented situation, we are working closely with our clubs, government, the FA, and EFL, and we can reassure everyone the health and welfare of the players, staff, and supporters are priority. Despite the challenges, it is the Premier League's aim to reschedule the displaced fixtures, including those played by academy sides, when it is safe to do so. In this fast moving environment, further updates will be provided when appropriate. So there is a clear intention there to reschedule games and take the league into the summertime, Tony.
Yeah, I think we'll find out more on Tuesday when UEFA has their meeting and decides what to do with the Euros and see how much time there is to play the leagues and make up the games.
I'm hearing that the Euros may actually be cancelled till next year. That's
And
what I'm hearing, Rohan.
the winner.
Rohan's shaking his head because you actually have tickets for the Euros.
Yeah, for both the semifinals. So,
Yeah.
but let's see. I mean, health comes first, but I don't understand if they are going to resume the league and they're going to play the leagues, then why is it that they can't play the Euros then? Because the Euros are in the summer. If hypothetically they start the season back on the 15th of April, then except for the fact that the leagues will not complete or finish, I'm not sure what the reason would be to cancel the Euros and completely have it next year. There's a lot of money riding on all of this, right? So they have to take a decision. Hopefully, the decision is not just economic, and public safety is taken into account. But let's see how this evolves.
Yeah, I think we have to do that. So it's not really so much a debate on the return football. I think they're saying football will return. It just depends on when it may be, Tony. And
Sure.
for me, it's probably going to stretch into late May before we actually start.
Yeah, late April or early May would be the best bet.
And with the Euros, so we're looking at a very, very strange. What did we have? Probably 2 months left in the season. March, April, May. Probably 2 months left in the season. And if it reconvenes in May, then we're looking at May and June probably, and the season finishing in July. Very, very short preseason, and I'm wondering if next season could actually start as scheduled, folks.
I think it could.
What do you think, Rohan? Do
Yeah.
you think it could get squeezed into September, October?
No, I think this is a big question going around, right? That what should we do? And I think 19 teams out of 20 want the season to be scrapped and to start afresh next season because we're not winning the league, right? Like,
Yeah,
not
there,
that
there is,
that
there
next
is.
year there's but there's just only one team, I think. So if you do a Twitter poll, if this is like some sort of a referendum, then everybody's just gonna say scrap this season and we go into next season. And my sentiments lie there as well. So yeah. So I think scrap this season. Uh,
Uh,
get football started with a little bit of international football, and then start next season right on time if you can, and
yeah,
uh,
are you
and then
saying
let's,
scrap the season as in nobody wins the league?
like I said, it'll be funny. I know that you said it wouldn't, but it would. I mean, it's a comedy of errors, right? You
Put
try
yourself,
so.
Rohan. You're a Liverpool supporter right now. How do you feel?
I feel super shitty. Like, but that's what comedy is about. Somebody has to feel shitty about it, right? Like, see, I in my heart of hearts, if I'm a Liverpool fan, I'd be distraught. I'd be destroyed. But I'm not, and that is why I laugh. I laugh about it.
As I said in the last podcast, I have a little bit of good faith towards Liverpool and their fans. And I watched a lovely video on Jack McIndoe's channel for Liverpool supporters talking about coronavirus in the last few days. And at the end of the podcast, I think one of the members, Doug, he actually called out Mikel Arteta and said, speedy recovery and all that good stuff. There is humanity amongst um, supporters, and like it should be for football supporters, there has to be humanity. And for me, Liverpool have had. I can totally see where you're coming from, Rohan. Liverpool have had a wonderful season, but yeah, it would be funny. But
Yeah,
they deserve. For me, they deserve it. Just give it to them
they,
already and be done with
they
it.
do. I mean,
And,
again,
and
give
can I
them,
say one
give it
more
to
thing,
them.
Rohan?
Sure, go for it.
They want to win it on. They don't want to win the title this way. They want to win it on the field. So go ahead, Rohan.
Exactly. Give it to them now with a big asterisk on the side, right? Like, so that everybody can point out and be like, there's an asterisk there, man. Like, you didn't actually win it, which is again funny. But
Yeah,
but yeah, I think,
a
you
little bit
know,
of banter. It's fun.
how they have played, hats off to them. How they have evolved. I've said this previously as well. 2 years ago, they finished 1 point ahead of us, and now they're like 40 odd points ahead
Yeah,
of us.
yeah.
And that's just crazy. That's amazing. How their team has evolved. It's a machine.
So
I know that there have been some dodgy
they
decisions.
they went this way and we went that way, right?
Definitely. And there have been some dodgy decisions. Maybe it's gone in favor of them, but that hasn't put them 20 points ahead in the title race. That isn't the sole reason. So they have performed exceptionally well. They have a system that works. I admire players like Kevin De Bruyne, and they have two Kevin De Bruynes from fullbacks. It's amazing to watch how they play. They deserve to win it, but like I said, we just have to see the funny side of it. And I want the next season to start. That's fresh hope for all other 19
For all
teams.
of us. Yeah, yeah. Okay, Tony, what do you think?
I think it'd have to be terrible for Liverpool to be up 25 points with 9 games left. All they need is actually one Manchester City loss and they'd have the title.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Glenn, welcome into the Arsenal fan circle. Thanks for joining us.
Hi Ray, hi Tony, hi Ron. Sorry
Hi,
I'm late. I had
that's
I
okay.
had to do, I had to do a couple of things like wash my hands thoroughly and
Absolutely.
then
But that's 20, 25 seconds.
it can take 10 minutes at the current situation
You washed your hands 60 times.
a day. How
Now,
are you though?
like I said, it was a little bit more of a serious tone last Thursday when we talked about this. It's on a lot of people's minds. Let's continue social distancing. Let's continue doing the things that our governments are telling us to do, and hopefully this thing will dissipate and go away. But right now, Glenn, we just had an update on Mikel Arteta and Hudson Odoi, and they're getting better. And then we moved on to the FA decision to postpone football for until the 4th of April. Was the right decision for you, right?
Yeah, of course, they should have even done it. They should have done that because, of course, when it started in China, all of us were like, "Oh wow, it's just another election the next few weeks," and then none of us was that worried. None of us were that worried about the situation. But when it hits close to home, like for Arsenal is like
Yeah.
home for us. So when it hits home, it really hits different. So it was definitely the correct decision, even before Arteta was diagnosed with it. For me, I don't even think it's going to come back by April 3rd because it keeps on spreading. Yes, a few people are
Correct.
recovering from it, but how many people will be willing to go back to the pitch knowing maybe a member of their team is still maybe affected with that and something, maybe until next season, maybe for me.
Or even supporters sitting side by side. You
Hmm.
know.
Exactly. No, no one would want to get themselves into that situation. So probably if it comes back, I still think it's going to be played behind closed doors for a couple of weeks
Okay,
just to
so
finish the season.
and Glenn, just to get you completely caught up, we were talking about Liverpool and what do you do with Liverpool at this point, and would it be harsh to scrap the season? We're kind of split on this decision. The top three people here.
I had drawn saying it will be very funny for Liverpool not to get awarded the trophy, but I think it's really unfair. I know all of us don't want them to be given the title, but I think it will be pretty unfair if they're not given. So if the FA ends up saying the season will be cancelled, I think they'll be given the title.
And
I
and you
think it's
know
only fair anyway.
With an asterisk
and
on top.
and you know
What?
what as
Sorry?
well. You know what as well, Glenn.
It'll be with a disclaimer, right? Like it'll be with an asterisk on top that they actually didn't
Yeah.
win it. We're giving it to you just because we feel bad. I mean, if it was Manchester City, would we feel as bad? Because it there is an emotional or a historic context to it, right? That they haven't won it for 30 years, and that's why everyone is like, if it was someone like a Man City who'd won it 2 times, I don't think people would feel as bad.
True,
And
absolutely true.
it's because it's also because they are so far ahead. You know, if it was like 9 points, 10 points, you can call it a disclaimer, but they're so far ahead. So I
Sure,
think it
yeah.
will be unfair to take it away from them.
Rob Foreskin, thanks for joining us. It's harsh for Liverpool. They deserve it. Scrap the Euros, but from Arsenal point of view, win-win. I'm not quite sure about the last part of that, but Liverpool deserve it. Scrap the Euros, but from Arsenal, it's a win-win situation from Arsenal's point of view. Yeah, and
Um,
so Mahir, when do you think football will return? Sometime late in the summer.
I have a feeling that, or in my personal opinion, I think it just should be cancelled out and out, and the champions, I mean Liverpool, to receive the cup because they are, like Glenn said, and I'm sure you guys have said while I was away, they're so far ahead. There's no mathematical chance. I mean, don't talk about like Man City, Liverpool losing five back-to-back games, and then suddenly Man City are in it. Just give it to Liverpool, cancel the season. Otherwise, if they are not going to do that, like obviously as a Liverpool fan, I would have been distraught if I was supporting Liverpool. I mean, after 30 years, that's almost as long. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 10 years longer than we've been waiting.
Yeah,
And I mean, seriously, rather be safe than sorry. And also, rather just yeah, have it carry on next season. Otherwise, we're gonna be playing catch up. If you guys
yeah,
understand what I mean.
yeah. It's gonna make for a compressed end of season. Obviously, it's gonna take about 2 months, obviously, to finish the season out. Whenever that's gonna resume, and then we're gonna have a short summer break, and the league gets back. But Tony, we've got Hollywood Squares now. So Stan, welcome
Good
to the
morning.
podcast.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, afternoon, evening.
Glad to see everyone's still alive.
Yeah, we're all good. We are all good. What's your take on especially the Liverpool situation?
Have they made has a decision been made yet? What's going to happen? I mean, we're still kind of in uncharted waters, right? Regarding,
Yes, yes.
yeah, but I mean, I think we should just end the league now and not give them anything.
I agree with Stan.
You know, even though they might,
You're not handing out any charity at all, Stan.
not at all. No, not at
But
all. I mean,
Liverpool fans, they do not want charity as well. They want to win it on the field.
sure, it just might take them another 30 years.
30, maybe another 30 days, all banter aside.
But in all seriousness, I mean, I don't know. I don't actually know what we should do in this situation. I mean, it was uncharted waters. There was I don't know if anyone listened to the short Askcast that came out towards the end of the week, but on there, they had a gentleman on there. I was kind of listening while I was doing some other stuff, and this guy on there, he kind of laid it all out of how we could sort of finish the season, fit everything in. He went right up until the World Cup and managed to fit everything in. I'd love to sit here and tell you what he said, but I can't remember. But it
Was
was
that
on
Gunner blog?
no, it was on. I don't think it was James. It was somebody else that he had on the show. There was another guest, and he kind of he went through a couple of minutes
Yeah.
of laying it
So,
all out. He
I
managed
think
to fit it all in.
What I heard, Stan, is to run the Euros simultaneously with the African Cup.
Yeah,
at
that was
the
one of
same
the
time.
things he said.
So that was
Yeah.
one of the same things, and that was probably a mid-season tournament for that, But it's gonna cause a lot of issues. But those issues are secondary to what's going on as well.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean,
This
it was
is
very, it was
great
very
preparation
funny,
now.
looking on a TV guide last night, where match of the day usually would be, and then seeing the BBC decided to serve up another episode of Mrs. Brown's Boys. I mean, I don't know how that show. I don't know how it gets on the air. I mean, that show is being treated with the reverence of Only Fools and Horses, and it's not even close. You get Christmas specials and everything.
So big up, Troy, for joining us. Really appreciate you. People in the comments, let me know how you're feeling about the enforced lack of football on us. And I'm going to go around.
This is
Go
now
ahead.
preparation.
Go ahead, Rohan.
This is now preparation for how the 2022 World Cup is supposed to happen, right? Because that's going to happen in the winter. There's going to be a break in between football. There's international games happening in the middle of the season, and the season is going to have to be sort of put on hold. And how that's going to be, this is an audition to that, it seems, right?
Yeah, it really is an audition to that. So the way things have happened, they're going to be able to audition to make that tournament seem seamless.
Yeah.
Rohan, how have you been feeling in general? How are you coping without football? How are you coping with life right now?
It's weird, right? Here in the US, you get up and the first half of the day is just watching, the Premier League or whatever football is on.
It's on.
And today it was, there was this was the first thing to look forward to, which is great. But again, it's it's just weird. This whole situation is weird. Like we said, this hasn't happened since World War II. Never experienced anything like this. So now just have to go into the vault and probably watch and reminisce games from before. And for me, it's going to be the games where we were great and we were winning things, and sort of relive that.
Yeah, and I think I would ask you after this podcast is done to go and think about that Let me know, all of you, what your games would be to highlight, and we'll use that as a podcast coming soon. Um,
Hmm.
but definitely, Tony, how have you been? How are you coping in general and with that football?
I'm doing all right without football and basketball, but it's weird turning on the TV, ESPN, nothing on, Fox Sports, nothing on. Just weird.
My wife is quietly happy about that, I think.
Yeah. I'm actually excited for Australian rules football to start this week. I'll be watching it at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Stan, how are you coping? You'll be able to get some more of those treats in that you look forward to.
Kebab.
Yeah, I'm actually all kebabbed out at the moment, but looking looking at the football,
I think I caught him off guard there.
here in Canada, it's quite strange because similar to Rohan, football for us here is a very early start.
Mhm.
So usually at the weekend, I would be up somewhere between maybe 7 and 9 o'clock. If it's a lunchtime kickoff and it's something that I want to see, then that's even earlier. That's around 4:30. So it's it's been nice to have a bit of a lay-in, and it must have been an autopilot because you said you're going to come on the show today, and I said no football, I'll probably be asleep, but I was awake. Sunday morning, which is probably due to getting up usually on very early on a Sunday, but to kind of whittle down the hours, I've been playing some FIFA. So in my world, Arsenal was still winning, so it's not too bad.
That's as long as you're good. That's not me. I would probably lose.
Yeah, but there's this thing called settings, yeah, and there's one called beginner's setting, and that's if you play on that, you win 12-0.
Yeah, the last time I played was probably with Henri and Bergkamp and all those good teams. Definitely, I got to get back into that. Glenn, how have you been? How you doing?
Well, as Tony has said, it's not just football. Like we are used to, like sometimes the normally international breaks and sometimes the season is over. So if you're a sports fan, you can end up watching the rugby sevens. You can
Yeah.
end up watching the Toronto Raptors. You can end up watching uh, Formula One. But literally, there's nothing on TV. So it's really hard. I don't know how people are going to survive for, like, it's only been 2 days and it's already been so hard. I wonder how people are going to survive for weeks. So over here in Kenya, we haven't had so many cases. So everything has been normal the last couple of weeks. You have only had the first case yesterday, and everything has been banned already. No schools, no going out and stuff. So let's see how we cope from now on.
Yeah, and my here finally. Last but not least, Blood my here. How are you coping?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just a worry that, worry about all of you guys. You guys are like family. Worry about all our subscribers. I worry about my family because it has become an epidemic. But I hope that they find a vaccine or it starts to die out rather after a few weeks. I mean, football's one thing, but life is very important, guys. Family matters most.
Yeah,
And with myself, basically today was Sunday. Yeah, I normally wake up, watch the game about midday, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, sometimes late kickoff, like right now, like 6 o'clock. But there hasn't really been any change. Like, it's not really affecting me too bad. Because yeah, I work on business ideas. Trying to get up merch for Gundit News, send it to you guys with your custom blazer and everything on it. So wherever you go, you'll be walking around knowing, hey, these are the type of channels we support. Well, you guys are our regulars, and I really appreciate that, Ray and myself.
my here. Your green screen. What's going on with that? We need to upgrade it a little bit. You need to work on your green screen.
No, how do you mean? It's up. It's up and it's working. And look,
Yeah,
talk green screen, Ray. The funny thing is, Stan, Glenn, Rohan, Tony. I actually posted a video. I've been posting videos, not so much on YouTube, but the views on Facebook skyrocket within a few hours. Like I can post that when I get to work. I can post the video or finish editing it within a few minutes, and By the time it gets to lunchtime, it's already sitting on 1.5 views, like 1.5K views, which
Yeah,
is, I just want to shout out to everybody also for,
15,
I mean,
1500. Yeah.
to keep them entertained with all the podcasts and everything that's going on, you know?
So
That
Rumplefortune said, "Do you guys miss football? Because I do. No sport whatsoever." Rohan, who was jumping in
but
there?
that that's a very interesting point that Stan brought in, right? Like now that actual sports are not on, and this is something that Spencer Owen said. I don't know if you guys are familiar. He's a big YouTube celebrity. Does a lot of stuff. He has this team called #United. I follow him regularly for years, and he has an esports team as well. And he said, rightly so, that this is a big opportunity for the esports, industry. That's a big industry, right? Like all of these games, and not just
Of course,
FIFA for that matter. Be it we saw
like,
uh, this the World Cup for what is that game? I forget that game.
I'll
Okay,
promote someone.
pretty
whatever.
That's
sure,
what we mean.
it might
So,
go.
yeah, so this is a big opportunity for that, and maybe people start getting glued into that. That's another form of entertainment. That's still football, that's virtual football, or that's some other sport that you follow. And there are people who are really good at it, and it's almost as good as watching the game sometimes, or if you're into playing that, like I am as well. So that's another pastime.
All right, so I big up Troy. I don't know if he was kidding or joking here, but let's do it anyway. Because I challenged him to get started off. We talk about our all-time best movies. He's got loads. So first one for him is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He's right up there. So I'll start off with two. For me, I always like Office Space because I liken that to the work that I do. I don't know if any of you have seen Office Space with Jennifer Aniston and Ron Livingston. It just mirrors what my workplace is like, how it can be, you know, you always find humor in, I always like gallows humor, right? So that's good. For another one for me, Shawshank Redemption. Anyone else want to join in?
Yeah,
Stan, you seem like
yesterday.
a movie buff. Stan, you seem like you could.
Ah, I thought Rohan was going to say something there.
Oh, he
Sorry.
was, yeah. I think he jumped before, just as I was talking. Go
Sorry,
ahead,
sorry
Rohan.
about that.
Go
No,
on, Rohan.
Stan.
Tony, don't forget to put your hand up. I'm sorry, Rohan.
Go on, Rohan. You have a
Sorry
go.
about that. Yeah, no. Yesterday, I on the flight watched the complete, horseshit of a movie, which was Shaw and Hobbs, Fast and the Furious. But
Yeah,
that is what they had on offer, not a classic by any way. There are these classics that we can enjoy. The Shawshank, Clockwork Orange. Even Departed, etc. And then there are some of these funny sort of movies that I enjoy, which are just a pastime, something like Pineapple Express, or something like Harold and Kumar, or something like that, just funny ones, to
yeah,
lighten the mood.
yeah. Who do I go to next?
Stan?
Glenn? Yeah, I was just going to say, Glenn doesn't want me to go to him next. He didn't want to have any bar of this.
Glenn would have to tell us about his Pornhub subscription. I think that's why he's.
Well,
He's moving
Troy's
to
got a
Italy
good
to get
one
a
here,
street corner.
Debbie does Dallas. Uh, but
Exactly.
think on a more serious note, Midnight Express, Cool Hand Luke. The Green Mile is a good one. And Shawshank, Goodfellas, and Casino. I
Yeah.
think Glenn will be back. I have faith in him.
Those last two, Goodfellas and Casino, if you've got the time, you can almost put one on after the other, and it kind of feels like like an extension of one film
Pretty
into the
much.
other. But one of my favorite films, and it's funny that this is one of my favorite films because I genuinely don't really like musicals at all. I've never been into things like like the Little Shop of Horrors, films where everybody bursts into song. It's never been my thing at all. But one of my all-time favorite films is Tommy by The Who. I don't know if everybody knows it.
No.
No, it's kind of like it's by The Who. It was written by The Who, the band, and
Yep.
it's the song. You know the song Pinball Wizard. You must have
Yep.
heard Pinball Wizard by Elton John. That's one of the big songs from it, and it is. There's hardly any spoken word in this song. It's a complete story from start to finish. But everything is kind of said in song, and it's kind of it feels like you're watching a music video, a long music video, but by way of watching the film, when it finishes, you feel like you've only been watching something for maybe 45 minutes, even though it's a bit longer. But yeah, it's something that I can watch over and over again, and I have no idea why I like it so much because I hate musicals.
That's pretty
Oh.
unique, Ken. It's pretty unique, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that I saw on TV many years ago as a child, back in the days when you would record movies from the TV on a VHS, and I'd have it on VHS, and I would watch it every now. In fact, now and again, me and a few of the other kids, we would bunk off school on a Friday and go back to my house and watch videos because my mum was home sort of like late in the evening, and she would never know. In fact, I just realised that she does watch nearly every podcast I do, so. The cat is finally out of the bag, and I'm sorry, Mum, if you're watching.
No, I mean I appreciate all viewers that especially your mom, and stay safe out there.
Yeah.
Tony, Glenn, or Mahir is left. Who's next?
You're
Mahir.
talking about movies?
He beat you, Tony. Or did he? Were you pointing up, Mahir?
Yeah, he's pointing up to me.
Tony, go.
Last night, one of my movies I grew up watching was Mad Max was on, and I grew up watching stuff like Mad Max and Road Warriors and Taxi Driver and movies like that.
Nice one.
That's awesome.
Glenn?
For me, I prefer war movies and comedy movies. So I'd say Lone Survivor for Mark Wahlberg because it's a educative movie and it's war-based movie. Plus comedies, I like the likes of Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy, so the big mamas of this world. And for franchise, my best franchise of all time has to be Fast and the Furious by far.
Quite a popular franchise, I have to say. Rob Foreskin says the Matrix, sorry. And for me, the Matrix, the Matrix confused the shit out of me, I have to say. It just made me think too much and scared me a little bit. The Matrix. Mahir?
Well, like Lynn said, I'm a big fan of comedies. So like stand-up comedies, man, like Cat Williams, Martin Lawrence, a lot of the classic stand-up comedians. I mean, as a humanitarian, like I love to make people laugh or having people laugh with me, like a good, so hearty laugh. One of those where you can't breathe or you struggle to breathe. The jokes are that funny. And same franchise as Glenn, Fast and the Furious. I mean, one other franchise I enjoyed was actually Rush Hour, Jackie Chan, and I mean that combo together, deadly. I actually can't wait for the next one. If they're going to release the next one.
All right, so that's the movie section. Let's now go to Arsenal trivia. A little bit of fun, like I said, we were going to do here. I'm the quiz master here, so all five of you will be put on the spot and play along in the comments section as well. So we're not gonna razz anyone if they don't know anything about Arsenal here. It's okay. It's okay if you get every one of them wrong by here.
I'm terrible at things like
This is a safe space.
Yeah,
scores of matches and who did that and what match. I'm terrible at that sort of stuff, to be honest.
all right. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit with the questions because some of them are long. First question. In 1996, Arsenal unveiled Arsene Wenger as their new manager. However, the British media had someone else in mind. Who was that person?
Terry
Rohan?
Venables.
Wrong.
No, I'm right. There were two other people that were.
Yeah.
It was Terry
Oh,
Venables and Johan Cruyff.
Yeah,
yeah.
Johan Cruyff
Johan
is
Cruyff.
what I had
Yeah.
read recently.
Dan,
His wage
you have to
demands.
give the answer according to my website that I have here.
No improvise. Can't improvise there, Stan.
So I'm just trying to make my computer don't turn off.
All right, pretty easy one, this one. From May 2003 to October 2004, Arsenal went unbeaten across how many games?
49.
49.
Good, 49,
Exactly.
All right, Glenn. I see you, Glenn. You're like, this is too easy. This one's for you, Glenn. How many goals did Thierry Henry score in his career?
In his career, Premier League career,
Yeah.
170,
Total. No.
179
Nope. Total goals, including all
total
competitions.
at Arsenal only.
Yes.
I'd say 200 and wow, that's a hard one. I remember he came back to Arsenal and added 3 goals. 246.
Nope.
Was it
All right,
228?
Pistol. Thanks for joining us, Pistol. You're all wrong so far.
I know it's between 230
Tony, you
240
can't look up
something.
the answer, Tony.
Total to Tim.
Wasn't it like 220 something, like 223?
You're getting closer.
I'd said 228.
It's
Is that
between
right?
223 and 228.
Okay.
The answer is 226.
Okay.
Okay, I might have
Off by
added the
2.
offside goal scored.
All right. Everyone should. Troy, good answer. Good guess. 221, but the answer is 226. Everyone should get this one. When was Arsenal Football Club founded? Mahir. When was Arsenal founded? Tony.
1888, I think.
Oh,
Or 89.
close.
89.
86.
Rohan, you got it.
I got it. It wasn't contrary to popular belief. It wasn't in 1996. It was 1886. Wasn't it?
Big up, Pistol. You got that right. Hope you're enjoying this so far. Rohan, you just had that look that, like, I know this answer. You just.
That's I had to get some pretext in.
Hello, we're back. I don't know what that was.
Frozen?
Was that the end of the world?
No, it was just a
Yeah, I think we all want to start over, don't we, Rob Horskin? 2020. You know, it all cropped out when I was just about to give you the toughest question. You ready? Woolwich Arsenal had just been relegated from the top flight in 1913 and were in serious financial straits. Oh, no. Did you get that?
Yeah.
A move from South London to North London took place shortly after the relegation, but which astute businessman saw the dream and stumped up £20,000 to buy a lease of plot of land for Highbury. That's ancient history.
Herbert Chapman.
And we have not been relegated since that time.
Was it
Not
Herbert Chapman?
No, not Herbert Chapman. It was Henry Norris.
I really can't remember this, but this is the exact trivia that I had heard when I went for the stadium tour there. This is one of the trivias that they give out during the stadium tour.
Yeah. Yeah, the stadium tour is good. So if anyone has not,
Hmm.
I've taken it myself. And we'll get you there one day, Mahir.
I mean, inshallah, I mean, as we all say.
You're in. Okay. From 1988 to
You never
89.
told us the answer.
What?
You never told us the answer of
Yeah,
the land.
Norris. Norris.
Who?
Henry Norris.
Henry Norris. Okay.
Yep. If I ask you that next week, will you remember?
Yep.
Pistol's got the best answer. And you know, that's why I said there's no wrong answers here.
A
That's pretty-
huge moustache. Huge one.
with lots of wax, right? A pointy one that'll poke your eye out. Next question. On the opening day of the season 1988-89, an Arsenal player scored a hat-trick. Who was that player? They beat Wimbledon 5-1.
1988. Was it?
88-89. I'll give you a hint. He would play a key part in Anfield 89.
Alan Smith?
Yes, Alan Smith.
I can say Tony Adams.
Tony, I don't see your hands going up.
You didn't know it.
Ah, here's a good one. Here's a good one. What is Thierry Henry's middle name? And I don't know this. I didn't know this answer. Shame on all of us. We don't know Thierry Henry's middle name.
I apologize for myself because I'm really honestly most of these, or some at least 2 or 3 I should have in the bag. But like I said, I'm holding up my hands now, guys.
Troy, I got it wrong as well, and so did you so far. Have another guess. It's not Walter.
Rene.
Thierry Rene Henry.
I'm just trying to think of something very French sounding.
Yeah.
Here's a hint. It could be, you could turn it easily into a lady's name, but it is a guy's name.
Daniel.
Sandra.
Daniel, you got the right answer. Did you cheat, Tony?
No.
What was the answer?
Daniel.
Daniel is the answer. Thierry Daniel Henry.
Oh.
Doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? The tongue.
Mhm.
Which Arsenal player, along with Thierry Henry, scored his 100th goal in season 2002-2003 to help them join the exclusive 100 goal club at Arsenal?
In 2002, 2003.
2002-2003, we won the. Did we win the league that year? Or that was the year maybe United took it back from us, but
Robin van Persie.
no.
Question?
Yeah.
Huh?
Ian,
He
Troy says Ian, right?
Troy? No.
What was the question again, please?
Question. You're just stalling for time. Which Arsenal player, along with Thierry Henry, scored his 100th goal in season 2002-2003 to help them join the 100 goal club at Arsenal? It's a player who maybe joined the club in 1995.
Is
Maybe.
it A midfielder.
Maybe one of our best players ever.
So is it Bergkamp? But
Yes.
yeah, the reason why it's confusing is because in the Premier League he didn't get 100 goals,
Troy,
right? Like he
Troy got it. Yeah, not in the Premier League, but
correct. Yeah.
over seasons.
Hmm.
All right, next question. 1996-97 saw Arsenal face German opposition in the UEFA Cup first round. But who did they play?
Is it
Dr.
bad?
No, not Leverkusen. That's really
Sharp.
difficult. Borussia Mönchengladbach. I think
Ah,
I think
I
Ray
love
Parler
Xhaka.
did he not score a hat trick in that game or in that tie?
I think it was a brace, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm gonna skip a few because okay, here we go. Oh, this is a tough one. When did the club become known as Arsenal? What year?
What year? Jesus.
Yeah. Let's tie it into the season after Norris did his business. This is funny because I actually asked you if you would remember this. Man.
I remember the guy, Mr. Norris.
What
It's
year
been-
was it? It's the
it's
season
been-
after that year.
It was a long time ago.
It was
Time ago.
it was like 1919 or something like that, wasn't it?
1990.
Because there was
So
a
what was,
break.
if you remember the year that I talked about with Norris moved the club?
I
Mr.
don't
Norris.
think you mentioned the
He
year.
also he changed the name the next year from Woolwich Arsenal to Arsenal.
So you had that 1913 was when he took over, wasn't it?
Yes.
So
That's
it
in
was 1914, but wasn't
Yeah.
there a gap between that season and due to World War One? Because we actually weren't relegated. We never played in the championship or whatever the lower tier
Yeah.
was back then.
So it goes on to explain Arsenal were first named Dial Square in 1886, but quickly changed their name to Royal Arsenal. In 1893, they joined the Football League Second Division under a new name, Woolwich Arsenal, and kept it that name until 1914. So 1914 is the answer. And Glenn is glad he's watching and not participating. But look, what's this all about? It's just having a little bit of fun with some Arsenal friends. There's no pressure, Stan.
Is there a prize?
We have to maybe I don't know. I don't know. You have to win to get a prize. You have to answer some questions. And Stan, it is a little bit early in the day for you. We'll give you some leeway.
It's very early in the day for me on a Sunday.
Here's a good one. I think Tony might know this one. How many games did it take for Jensen to score his first Arsenal goal? Johnny Jensen. Johnny Jensen. The Dane.
Shoot.
Rohan, he scored a winning goal in that 1992 European Championships against Germany. I was in Germany. I was in Germany for that game. I was a student in Germany, and let me tell you, all the German fans were pissed off because they'd won the World Cup in 1990, and they wanted to do the double. And little old Denmark, Stan and Tony might remember, they came off the beaches that year, joined the tournament and won it. Remember, somebody was knocked out. It might have been Serbia or Yugoslavia.
I just remember we brought Johnny Jensen on basically on the back of that, didn't we?
Yep.
It was a thunderous goal. I seem to remember the goal. It was like a.
Who did he score it against, Stan?
I can't remember that.
Queen's Park Rangers?
Oh, you mean for us when he scored
Yeah.
our goal? I
Yeah.
can't remember who we were playing now. Was it Queens Park Rangers? Is that who it was?
I think it was QPR.
Okay.
He did have curly hair.
And and he had a curly moustache as well. His moustache matched his hair.
He had a mustache. He was a bit of a Mustafi lookalike.
He looked like a scouser. He looked like a scouser to me, like an 80s, 90s kind of scouser. You know, calm down, with the curly hair.
All right. Yeah, like those guys. What is that show, Stan?
Was it the Harry Enfield show or
Yeah,
the show?
yes.
One of them ones, wasn't it?
Harry Enfield, yes.
Hey.
All right. Calm down. So it was a lot more fun talking about Johnny Jensen than actually how many games it took him to score his first goal. But it was 98 games.
Wow.
Yeah. He went longer than Guendouzi probably.
I mean, if you break that down, you know, considering there's 38 games in the season, that's probably he might not have played every single game, so it probably took him about 3 seasons to score that goal from when he signed.
But George Graham loved him because he was his midfield general. He's like what you would call Xhaka, but I would take John Jensen over Xhaka now, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yes. All right, next question. This one is to my ear because you have not been participating too much. Who are Arsenal sponsored by in the 2000-2001 season? What was the name on the shirt? Sponsorship.
Sega, Dreamcast.
Say it again.
Second
Sega.
Dreamcast is what he said.
Dreamcast, correct.
Do you know that? Do you remember when we had that sponsor? If you remember some of our European games, did you notice that they went without the Dreamcast? In certain places. If you look back, I remember at the time, right, that certain places we played, we couldn't have I think it was Dreamcast on our shirts because in some places it means wanker or something like that. What? I'm serious. I remember it for certain games. It was either maybe we had Dreamcast, but we couldn't put Sega. We could have Sega and not Dreamcast because one of those words, it meant something naughty somewhere else. And I remember, and I'm sure it was. Excuse my French, Mum, if you're watching, but for the purpose of the podcast, it meant wanker apparently. So, I like to find that.
Lovely man, Stan. Eating has been
Lovely. Because you're gonna get smack on the back of the head.
I mean, because you guys know, like I'm from the younger generation, so I basically from playing Super Nintendo, I moved on to. I have very fond memories of one of my uncles in India and Rohan. We call them Mamu, right? So basically, my Mamu, he used to take me and I used to bunk what we call Arabic classes in the morning. I used to bunk madrasa, and I basically used to go to. And he used to take me to the like a blockbuster. And I used to be able to hire out whatever I want. And I'm skipping, I'm playing games, I'm chilling with them. I mean, good old times. Dreamcast.
Is that what's on your shirt right now, Stan? Or you got Sega?
No, JVC.
JVC, right, yeah. That's a good one as well. I saw the Mark on this day, however many years ago, Mark Overmars did his thing.
Oh,
see that goal?
This shirt was bought for me by my lovely fiance, and it was actually worn. If I can turn around,
yes,
it's an original, and it's the original actually worn and played in by Mr. Vieira, I believe.
He played it, a nice one.
Yeah.
What game did he? Which game was it?
I don't know. My missus bought it. This was for my 50th birthday, which was 2 years ago when I was living in Amsterdam. She got me tickets through a friend of mine in London for the Arsenal-Tottenham game under Unai Emery, the 4-2. So we went to London
Nice.
for that game. That was her first ever football match that she'd ever been to. And
Wow.
she, in a conversation a few months before that, I was talking with someone and we were talking about favourite football tops. And I was telling them how I used to have one of these many, many years ago. And, it just got totally destroyed by, smoking in it. And my mum's watching. The hot
It has
ash
some of,
from the
does it have
cigarette.
some of that,
Yeah, the ash.
does it have
That's
some of that Vic
absolutely.
there as well?
Yeah, something like that. But she remembered, and she went out and got this. And then she said, "Oh, the place where I got it from, it's actually an original worn by the player. So it must have cost. I think it must have cost a fortune to get this, to be honest. But I'm very pleased to have it. Very pleased to have
It's cherished,
All right.
man. It's cherished.
Don Juan, welcome in. Hope you're coping with. We all should be, isolating ourselves for a couple of weeks. So I hope you're coping with that. We are playing an Arsenal trivia play along, and Stan, the back of your shirt ties into the next question.
it. Oh, okay.
I want you to remember the back of your shirt is not the answer to this question. Okay? But it's in that era. Which Frenchman was Wenger's first signing as the manager of Arsenal? Now, we all know Patrick Vieira was
I don't
signed,
know.
was signed before Arsene Wenger came to the club on
I know
Arsene
the answer
Wenger's
to that.
directive.
It was a very young lad, wasn't he? In age, his age was very young.
Yes.
Yeah, Super Nick.
Nicholas Anelka. Tony, you have to put your
Yeah.
hands up if you know the answer. All right, can I?
But wasn't it ridiculous that
Like
ridiculous that we bought him for like, what did we buy him for?
500,000,
For 500,000, and then we sold him for 23 million
22?
or something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
That was Wenger in his pomp, in his heyday. But Stan, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just touching on Nicholas Anelka. I remember reading one of our players' autobiographies, and I'm not. I think it might have been either Tony Adams or Paul Merson's. I can't remember which one, but they were talking about Nicholas Anelka and saying that he was such a talent, but he was so withdrawn as a person. They'd say that they would, get on the coach to go to games by coach up the motorway, and he would be sat there. On his own with his headphones in, looking down, no eye contact with anybody, and almost looking like he didn't want anyone to talk to him until they got to their destination. He was a very withdrawn player, and could you imagine what it would have been like if we had managed to have held on to Nicholas Anelka and had him playing up front alongside Thierry Henry? What that would have been like. I mean, we probably
and Bergkamp behind them.
Yeah, I mean, we got the money. We got the money for Henry because of that sale, right? I mean, as Rohan said, it cost us what, 500,000. We sold him for something like 22.5, and then with the money, we went and spent 11.5 of that and bought one of the best players in the world.
Do you think nowadays that would have been a Coutinho type of money involved there?
Oh yeah, surely. I mean, the scales of them, the sum of money is different, but for what we were doing then, that was this young kid, 500,000, which is,
He went to Madrid.
It's not a lot, but the money we sold him for. I mean, how long did we have him for until we sold him? Does anyone remember?
A couple of seasons.
It was like 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we won the double. I remember him scoring that goal against Newcastle, kind of a through ball, and he was right in against Newcastle. He put that away in the corner. Lightning quick. He was lightning quick. I'll never forget also Manchester United and Alex Ferguson turning up the pressure. They had just beaten Blackburn Rovers, and they said, toughest game they ever played, because they knew Arsenal were going to play Blackburn Rovers next. We went up there and tanked them 4-0. Anelka scoring 2 goals. And then Tony Adams was playing it up. He said, yeah, they were definitely the toughest game we ever played so far. Mind games back there, they were just magic. You know what I mean?
That was the time, right? When when these rivalries, this mind games, everything, really counts when you're up there, right? Like Mourinho,
Yes.
he plays all of this, but he's not up there anymore, and that at that point it just becomes silly if you're trying to do that. You have the luxury of playing these mind games only if you're up top. And I was just reading this insane stat of Wenger in his heydays versus Sir Alex, and the stats when they stacked up was crazy. That Wenger had something like 572 wins, and Sir Alex had 568. Wenger had a couple of more losses, less draws. So it's really how it's gone south in the second part of his reign, and people
Yeah.
remember him for that. And
Yeah.
rival fans, they want to like sort of make fun
Fantastic.
of that, but they don't realize how great this guy was. And from all the
And
documentaries of the 90s, from the 90s that we see, United was sort of a bully, taking away players like Andy Cole, etc., from rivals, and building their team. And they had
he
a
started out
generation
at
of players
Arsenal.
coming through.
Andy Cole did. He
Let me
started
just,
out at our academy. Yep.
Yeah.
I'd like to
So
ask everyone, as we're kind of shooting the breeze here on this Sunday morning, we don't have much structure. I'd just like to ask, I mean, Rohan touched on something right there about the reign of Arsene Wenger, which can really be described in two halves. Yeah. If you look at it, if you round up the numbers to 20 years, the first 10 was fantastic. The second 10, not so. Why do you guys, and even people in the chat box, why do you think there's such a big disparity between the two eras? Where did Arsene Wenger go wrong in that second 10 years where he wasn't able to maintain, what he'd built in that first 10 years?
Am I here?
Okay, my answer would be maybe I don't know as much as you guys do know, but from what I could see was players getting our star players, right? Either leaving to, I know, to further their career, but being sold to direct rivals, and us not managing to build, like Rowan was saying, 500,000 for Nicholas Anelka, and then we managed to sell him for 22 and a half, but then being able to use that money to build further, to buy other star players, which would be replacements, right, Stan? We just never managed to do that in the later part of the years. Like we never managed to use our money smartly. Like for
Yeah.
instance, what
But
did Boston, Liverpool, they sold Coutinho, for example, right? What they did with that money was buy a world class goalkeeper, buy other world
center
class
back.
players
Yep.
can play
Van
maybe in
Dyke.
multiple positions.
But also, Stan, David Dean left the club. And I think that was a big, big sea change for Wenger as well.
He came in.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Tony.
I know,
David Dean, uh, David Dean, a person who Arsene Wenger worked with so well, and they were a perfect partnership to be replaced. But it's like the worst substitution ever in football. Rohan,
yeah, I think there are a couple of issues when I look at it. And for me, Arsene Wenger is a legend. He's a hero for what he's done. I don't care how badly the last 5 years went. It was obviously painful, but I look at him like the greatest Arsenal manager ever. And I think it was a bit, it was a little unlucky. So he was definitely a visionary, right? Like he saw that for us to go to the next level, we wanted a different stadium, we wanted
bigger
more
stadium.
capacity, because that is
Yeah,
the most amount of money coming in. And we were the first team, until recently, the only team who had built their own stadiums. People had moved stadiums, but we had built the whole stadium. But I think the economics sort of went against him right at the wrong time. Like when we were moving, that is when great money came into football with the Chelseas and all of them. And
City. Yeah,
the model that he had, which was working so well, of having these two physical players, Vieira and Petit, and all of that. And he started with this Barcelona tiki-taki style players who are going to try to play technically, but they weren't at that level of Barcelona. And how did Chelsea succeed in their first spell? It was Makelele with doing exactly what Arsene Wenger was doing with Vieira and Petit. And so it was unfortunate. He definitely wasn't backed, and that was the reason for him selling to the rivals. And basically it was just unfortunate events. There were obviously some dodgy calls. His pride always got in the way. He always wanted Arsenal to play the Arsenal way, which is not how you approach every game. You sometimes have to respect the fact that your opponent is better than you, and so you play according to the opponent. And so many games we just saw that we were trying to be arrogant and play the Arsenal way, and we'd get smashed up. So there's a bit of
Yeah,
management, but there's a lot of bad luck and economics going into it, that it's
it was
sort of gone.
it was more of a he than we, because be it a good thing, be it a bad thing, Arsene Wenger was a stubborn person.
Yeah, man.
He was set in his ways. I'm enjoying this. I didn't know how this trivia play would go along, but I think it's sparking conversation for us that we're. It's not just trivia; it's conversation about all things Arsenal. I think, we want to provide some entertainment for people who don't have football, they don't have sport to watch. So hopefully you're enjoying this podcast. I've got another few more questions, and for the younger people, it's more recent as well. So this next question is more recent. Which player scored the first Premier League goal for Arsenal at the new Emirates Stadium?
Wasn't it the same player that scored the last goal at Highbury?
I'm not sure if he scored the last goal at Highbury. Did he?
If I'm thinking, I thought the same player scored the last goal at Highbury and then the first goal at the
Did,
Emirates.
did the person who scored the last goal at Highbury gain entry to the UEFA Cup for us by scoring that goal?
She caught me out on that one.
Did,
Pass.
So on the
is,
last game in Highbury, Henry scored a hat trick. Right, that was the last game at.
was it a Wigan game? And I thought
Yeah,
it was, but I thought it was, yeah, it was Henri, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what
I
I
know
Henry
was.
you're
scored the
thinking.
hat trick.
Well, Henri is not the answer, but now we know who
Sure.
scored the last goal at Highbury.
Okay.
Tony,
I thought
put your hand up.
I thought Thierry Henry scored the first goal at the Emirates. So no, I don't know.
No. Don Juan, you get it. We could have got another 2 years out of Gilberto Silva was the answer.
Ah.
Tony, you're not playing very well here.
Tony doesn't play very well with others.
I need to win back on. We need to be back on Hollywood Squares.
Tony's actually sat in the corner hoarding all of the Lego blocks by himself.
All right, next question. If I can find one, it's not too hard. Okay. This is an older one again. Which former Arsenal stalwart left the club for Newcastle United in 1988-89?
Okay, not who I thought it was.
He was a left back.
I nearly said Malcolm McDonald. That's where my mind is at this time in the morning.
88-89. Should I give you the answer? Or wait, I'll give it a second for the viewers to chime in. Don Juan, a left back who left Arsenal in 88-89 for Newcastle. So it seems that Winterburn dislodged him.
Oh, Sanson.
Kenny Sanson. Yes, correct. How many major trophies did Arsenal win under George Graham? I'm sorry, Rohan. These and Mahir, these are not more recent
Yeah.
questions.
Three.
He won six, two leagues, two league cups, one FA Cup, and one Cup Winners' Cup. So that's not a bad haul for what 8 years, six trophies in 8 years under George Graham.
Do you know what? It was a shame how that ended, wasn't it? The George Graham.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It ended in a. It just ended
Rooney
in.
Hogg. We'll all remember that name, right, Stan?
Say again.
Rooney Hogg, Hag,
Yeah.
the agent involved.
Yeah, I mean, what a way to end your, tarnish. I mean, at the time he was seen as such a great manager for us and in the game, right? The way that we played, it was a very different style to what Arsene Wenger kind of came in and brought to us. But it was a very effective, disciplined. Even though he was Scottish, there was this very British feel about the way that things were happening at Arsenal to identify, but to go out, on the way that he went out was, I think for someone like George Graham, that he's forever going to be kicking himself,
Yeah,
you know. But at that time, you have to remember that he wasn't the only one. He was just the only one that got caught. I'm not condoning it in any way, but when he got caught, they literally threw the book at him because they knew it was going on and they wanted to, they wanted it to stop. So he took the full weight of it. It's just a shame.
tampering with agents, and I think it was the John Jensen. Was it the John Jensen transfer?
Wasn't it another one as well? Wasn't it Paladison as well? Was
Could have
that
been. Yeah,
because then you're getting yourself into this situation where when this is back in the day when managers had more power to say, I want to buy this player, I want to sell that player. So you're getting into the area of, that player that we bought 2 seasons ago, we've only seen him play a couple of times because he's rubbish. Did we only buy him because along the way somebody earned like 200 grand on the deal? It's quite sad.
yeah.
But nowadays, don't transfers happen to gain a market share? You see people being bought from, let's say, countries that usually don't produce mass players or great players. I mean, don't have a pedigree or history of that. But we've seen odd signings happening just to get the market share. So there's obviously a lot of economics involved again in this thing as well. And that itself can't be deemed to be unethical, right? Just to
Maybe
try
I'm
to
missing
increase your
something because I've always found it odd that I've always said if I was a football player, would I really need to have a football agent looking after my affairs? Could I not do it myself? I mean, if I'm playing for, say, Arsenal and my contract is now up to be renewed and I want to stay at Arsenal and Arsenal wants me to stay at Arsenal, isn't it just a case of just going over the contract quickly, maybe with a legal person to make sure there's nothing hidden in there? But surely you've got an idea of what you should be getting paid. And, depending on your position, you've got an idea of various bonuses, whether it's assist bonuses or goal scoring bonuses or keeping a clean sheet. I don't understand why you really have to have an agent in there. And then if you're playing at a club and your contract's coming down and you and the club decide you want to part ways, surely you have an idea of the club that you'd like to go to and you look at the offers coming in. I've always thought that these super agents just seem to be ruining everything, and the amount of money that they make is just ridiculous for what to me seems very little for what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Just make.
De- Definitely. I think there's a bit of, there's a bit of being passive aggressive going into it, or being non-confrontational actually, because people don't want to, these players don't want to come up and say that, that I want this or I want that, why am I not playing? They don't want
Yeah,
to
they have a
have that
middleman.
bad relationship, so they bring a third person in who doesn't
Yeah,
have anything to do with it, and that person does the talking for them. And I guess whenever they are asked, they just put their hands up and they're like, why don't you deal with the agent? And these agents are so big that nowadays clubs don't want to mess with them. That's
yeah.
sort of how it's become, I guess.
It just worries me that, and I think Andrew and Arsblog has touched on it quite a lot recently, that we seem now to be in the pockets or hanging around certain agents. So when we're looking for players, rather than looking for the best player, it's almost like we're now looking on a list, just one list that a few of these agents that we're mixing with have got, and we're only buying players that are coming through a certain agent rather than, well, we like this player over there, but he's handled by that guy, or this player over there, his dad handles this.
But exactly, Stan. Doesn't it seem like in 10 years ago we were fighting against Chelsea for the names of players? It doesn't seem to happen like that anymore. And now it's like you say, Stan, you call up the agent and say, well, I've got 6 players here. You can pick one from these 6 players. And it's done that way through the agents rather than an open market between the clubs.
Yeah, I mean, it appears to me that we went to what's his name, Kia Jacobosi, or whatever his name is, I can't even pronounce it, and said, we're in the market for a central defender. What you got? He looked down his list and he said, well, David Luiz is ready for a move. What do you reckon on that?
Yeah.
He's only across the road. He'll be with you by the morning. And that seems to me how the deal was done.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened very quickly, I think, in the end. You know what I mean? Another question here. In 2006, our Champions League run, how many matches did Arsenal go without conceding a goal? Bless you. Tony.
In the Champions League?
Our run to the Champions League with a makeshift back four, I might add.
Seems like 8. I can't remember.
It's not that I can tell you right now who those players were, but if I would reel off those names in that back four, it wasn't like the famous 5. It was a smattering of different players, and it just worked.
I think it was 8. I can't remember.
A little higher.
I think it was like 9. It was 10 because we didn't concede until the semifinals. So
we didn't actually concede until the final. And that was sickening. Samuel Eto'o, we were holding on and holding on.
Ran out of gas.
So on a separate topic, how do you guys feel about the away goals system in the Champions League?
I like it.
I hate it.
I don't like it that much either.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna side with Tony and Stan on this one, because I think in the home leg, it's almost about not conceding than trying to score, and it's a big issue. And like we saw for Liverpool, the team that's playing second has the home advantage, but has the disadvantage that you might have to play 30 minutes extra where your opponent's goal is going to count one more than yours, and that becomes a big issue, right? Why is it not that it's just both ways, how many ever goals you're going to get?
I think they brought it in so you would not be tempted to play boring football and play for penalties in that situation,
In that very reason is the same reason that I've always said to pals when we're out drinking that getting 1 point for a 0-0 score result, you need to do away with that. You get no points for that.
Yeah, if it's a 1-1, it's okay. You get points for that, right?
Yeah. But 0-0, no. You've got to play for goals, I think. And encouraging a team to shut up shop to go for a 0-0 draw and get a point out of it. I think that should be gone.
I'm going to ask you a question based off of that, Stan. Which Premier League manager would lose the most glean from his CV if that would be instituted? Who played most for 0-0s? Who parks the bus?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, is it him? I think it's probably him.
Probably him, right?
Yeah.
Jose was pretty good at parking the bus.
Yeah, but during his time, the first stint at least at Chelsea, he was very good at shutting up shop, but he was winning quite a lot as well. I mean, he would score one or two and then, just
Set
hit
up
them on the counter.
shop. Yeah,
Because it's funny
exactly
that
right.
a lot of people think that Didier Drogba was a goal machine, but he wasn't.
My, myself included.
If you
Yeah.
look at the stats, he very rarely got past 15 goals a season, but he scored in some very important games. He wasn't a 20, 25 a season, a goal a season regular guy. That was not him at all. But if we look back, I've seen sometimes you see on TV, and they're putting together their best ever teams, or footballers, their two footballers are putting together teams, and you see Drogba sneaking in there, and I always think to myself, no, for a regular goal scorer, there were much better around. Sorry, just changing the subject there. I just don't know
No,
why.
yeah, sure.
No, that's
But
all good.
but all big games when it matters, he scored, and
Yeah,
that's the little thing about love
Always against us.
Henri and but some of the big games that we had, if he had scored there, if he had scored in the Champions League final where he had a couple of chances,
Hmm.
things could have been so different for Arsenal.
Yeah, I would have loved to have at least one Champions League in the bag by now.
Yeah.
has
And
anybody
just
ever
before
watched
the
that
Cronkies
match
got
again?
there.
Has anybody ever watched that match again? Because I haven't.
No,
I've
I've never watched it
been
again.
myself to watch that
No,
again.
no.
I
Five
remember
times
that
or just
very
once?
well. I remember that night so well. I had 2 bottles of champagne in the fridge, living in a flat in Amsterdam, and a couple of guys came around. And when we lost, and I still didn't drink the champagne, I refused to open the bottles of champagne because we didn't win.
Yeah, I know. Tough times. Ready for another question? We'll do a few more questions and wind it up because I want to. Hopefully, everyone's enjoying this. I mean, it's tough. We're in a difficult situation here. We're going to create a little bit of content for Arsenal supporters. Like I said, here's a tough one, right? Name the player who scored 4 goals in a 6-3 win over Liverpool in 2007. It's a multiple choice. Theo Walcott, Jeremy Aladier, Frederick Lumberg, or Julio Baptista. Stan smiling. Don't tell us yet. Don't tell us yet, Stan. Tony.
Batista.
What? Baptista? Okay. Mahir, do you agree? Stan Baptista, right? Julio de Baptista.
Do
Four
you,
goals in a
do you
6-3 win.
do you remember him? We tried to actually buy him. I think it was maybe half a season before that. We actually wanted to own Julio Baptista,
Yes.
and for some reason we got him on loan. And it was the strangest of loans, wasn't it? The way his output for Arsenal was so strange. Some games he looked like he didn't even understand what football was to me. Like it was something alien to him. And in other games, he was all over it. He was a very weird player, Julio Baptista.
Very
Yeah, he was a very strange player, and we wanted to keep him, right?
Wasn't
Don
his
Juan
nickname
saying
the Beast or something? He had a nickname, the Beast or something like that, wasn't
the
it?
beast,
Hmm.
the beast. Don Juan said that Barcelona goal was offside. The second one would have been ruled out by VAR today. Hopefully, would it have ruled out Jens Lehmann getting sent off?
Yeah, but the thing is with VAR, it's so against us. They probably would have given Barcelona a penalty to make sure.
It was a mile outside the box.
Also, when Robin Van Persie got sent off for kicking the ball because he didn't
That
hear the
that
whistle,
was robbery.
I saw that again recently. It popped up on my timeline, and it's so infuriating. I mean, that is blatant cheating. To do that for that excuse, for that reason, and for no one in authority to come in and overrule that or to do something, even, get rid of that referee or fine him after the game. I mean, that was so blatantly shady.
especially when he never heard of a whistle to begin with.
Exactly. I mean, there's how
Never
many
heard the whistle with the
60,000
comment.
people in the stadium making noise. And he was in such a way that it was almost like a reflex shot. He couldn't have stopped his leg kicking that ball if he tried. It was just a one-shot movement, and to send him off of that was just.
Some of the European refs are whack anyway. All right. Next question. What comes next in the very repetitive chant that starts with and ends with "We hate blank"? We hate blank, my here.
What do we think of blank? We know.
Yeah. We hate Tottenham. We hate Tottenham. We hate Tottenham. We hate Tottenham. There you go, Tony. I sang.
Is anybody going to be watching this Tottenham documentary thing that's coming out onto? I think it's Amazon Prime at the end.
Tony's shaking his head, but I don't believe him.
Be one of the few things on Amazon I don't watch.
Because I hear that the first episode of that is quite explosive, and it goes right into the parting of the ways of Pochettino, and I keep using the word explosive.
Wow.
I'm going to watch it because I do enjoy comedy, so that's the reason I'm going to be watching it.
In whatever way you can fill your time, if there's not enough kebabs, then there's always that. Then, right?
There is.
Just tell me to back off if I'm pouring it on too thick. I don't want to ruin your chances, mate.
No, kebab night was last night, right? Sunday is God's day.
All right, a little bit of ancient history, Mahir. You're perfect for this one. And then Rohan, I'm coming to you for the next one. Mahir, in what year did Arsenal win their first league title? Anyone else? In the comments. Nobody's watching that documentary, Stan. What year, Mahir?
I'm saying 1990. I'm saying 93.
No, not the Premier League.
Oh, what did they won
The
in
first
all?
league title
Oh,
ever.
the first league title.
Yeah.
I would have to say 18. Yo, there we go. 1934.
No, Don, it's a little bit lower than that. 1931.
Okay.
Does anybody actually know? I have a quick trivia question, and I'm just looking at my here and Ray's shirts. Does anybody know why we wear the colours, those home colours, a red shirt with white sleeves?
That's a great question that I do not know.
Anyone?
I've read it before, but I can't remember.
Anyone in the chat box? Does anyone in the chat box know why our home shirt is red with white sleeves?
Is that something to do with the uniform of people working at the
armory?
factory?
No.
There? Yeah, no.
Right,
Okay.
not. The answer is that the first our first football kits were donated to us by Nottingham Forest.
Wow.
Nice one.
Nottingham Forest is also red and white, and we stuck with the colour ever since.
That's a great piece of trivia.
That's fantastic. Because that actually proves the bonds of football are actually interlinked in other ways as well, you know?
Yeah.
Another question. What was the final score in 1979 FA Cup final against Manchester United? Many times known as the 5-minute final. And one of Stan's legends, did he score or he put the cross in?
I think you put the cross in.
Liam Brady?
Yeah.
Put the cross in for Sutherland.
Great match that was. One of my early sort of Arsenal sort of. That was back in the day when the FA Cup would come on. Do you remember? It was an all-day thing. You know,
Yeah.
you'd get meet the teams, and each manager would go through each player. You know, you'd see players talking about stuff off of football. It was an all-day event. We sat there from about 11 o'clock in the morning. You know, you'd have your breakfast. Mum would bring you your breakfast, and then it would go all the way on to kick-off on the BBC, and it was just an all-day. It was brilliant when the FA Cup was like that. I missed that.
Yeah, FA Cup. I don't get when fans say they devalue the competition, and it has to be younger fans for me that are saying that
I
because
think, I think it's the media as well. I mean, like I just said, I mean, it was an all-day thing on the BBC. Any other sport on that day was either postponed and moved on to make way, or it took a back seat. But now, it's kind of like the way that the media treats it, even the TV coverage. You get none of that build-up. There's other matches that are going on, and it's almost like, oh yeah, the FA Cup's on later on today as well at about 5:30. It's like an afterthought.
and it's
Stan,
because of money, right, Stan?
And it's all about money, isn't it? Usually.
Am I here?
Ray, I was just gonna say, I find that's very fascinating that the younger generation would think that the FA Cup doesn't mean as much because even with myself, in my personal opinion, I value the FA Cup. I mean, it's still prestigious. It's still
You see that? That's
yes.
all the trophies you can get in one season if you're lucky. If you're in Europe, if you're not in Europe, one of these fingers down, it's three. You know.
I mean, you used to hear stories, didn't you, from around the world of people saying that they live in a village and there was no TV, but there was one guy in the next village which was like 10 kilometers away that had a TV, and they would all walk to that village just to watch the F. You heard these kind of stories, right? And this was coming from places all over the world, whether it was in Asia, Africa, other places in Eastern Europe. The FA Cup was used to be such a big thing, and I honestly believe that it's the way that the media have watered it down and not given it as much exposure, which has made it plain to people's minds that it's not as important anymore. And I suppose the younger generation growing up now, and they don't get the all day coverage like we used to get, where we're sat in front of a TV all day. To them, it doesn't seem as if it's an important fixture. And
Yeah.
I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see it go back to on FA Cup day. We don't have any other football games. I think that day should just be that one football game. Do other sports if you have to, horse racing or what have you. But football matches on FA Cup day, it should just be that. It should be the last game of the season, the British
Yeah,
season.
it always was that last game of the season at the end of May, Stan. It was probably like a week or two after the regular season finished. You know.
That is so
Yeah,
safe.
I mean,
Go ahead, Rohan.
I think that for Arsenal fans especially, we had the drought, and then the FA Cup is the one that's lifted the monkeys off our backs. It is special. Winning the Premier League is super difficult. It requires 38 games, and not
And being
every team is going to be
consistent.
up for it.
Yeah.
But winning the FA Cup, the draw can win you the FA Cup. It's a one-off game. There's real competition going on there. I absolutely love it. It's obviously you can't compare it to winning the league or the Champions League, but it's a great trophy to win. And I saw a documentary some time ago. It's called Truly Madly Wembley. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's
No.
about the Arsenal Aston Villa final that we played and we thrashed them. And
4-0.
this whole documentary is set up in the way that there's a wedding that's happening, and then they show that one side of the family supports Aston Villa and the other side supports Arsenal, and they basically are done with the wedding ceremonies and everything stops, and there's a screen that comes down, and the whole family, both the families, are sitting there and watching the final. This is what this documentary is about, and it's
Truly, madly,
beautiful.
Wembley.
Yes, Truly Madly Wembley, and
All right,
it's
I'm
it's
gonna look for that
brilliant to
one.
see how much there's banter going on. There are two sides of the family which have just become families together due to
Yeah.
marriage, and they're bantering each other. And Arsenal won, but that really shows how much people care about it, and it's a beautiful documentary.
I wonder if
Yeah.
they're still
And
married.
I wonder if they stayed married. All right, Stan.
If you guys are looking for something football worthy to watch in these lean times, if you have Amazon, the streaming service on Amazon, there's a really great documentary on there. It's called Kaiser, the greatest footballer who never played, and it's a story about this sort of South American guy called Kaiser who used to. He's probably played it for every single Brazilian club and a few also in Europe as well. But the guy couldn't play football, and he used to do everything that he could in order not to play. And a lot of his teammates knew this as well, but they used to like having him around. But if you look at this guy,
why didn't we sign him?
Sorry?
He's perfect for Arsenal. Why didn't we sign him?
Yeah. But if you want a good story, it's a really funny story, and it's a really interesting story about this guy that played for so many clubs, but couldn't play football. He just couldn't play football. And he tells one story about where he's on the bench and he's supposed to be just coming back from he always had injuries. He always had these injuries so that he couldn't play. And he was supposed to be coming back from an injury, and he was told that he had to warm up. And he was sat there and he said to himself, like, oh no, how am I gonna get out of this now? They're making me warm up to come on to play. And so what he done is he started warming up, and then he went over towards where the away fans were and punched one of them in the face. And he didn't play. So now the guy that owns the football club, the chairman, keeps thinking, no, there's something not right. This guy, he's coming with such a big reputation. Everybody loves him. He's great around the club, but he doesn't play football. There's always something that's keeping him from playing. So, these Latino clubs, some of them they're owned by some very naughty people. If they wanna take you out, they'll take you out for a drive, and you'll never be seen again, sort of style. And this is sort of like in the 70s as well, right? So he went out, he got called up to go and see the guy that owned the club, and he's like, this is too much, Nina. What's going on? And now you're punching the guy, you punch a fan in the face. And he said, well, you've done a lot for me. You brought me to this club. You've been almost like a father to me. When I heard that filth in the crowd calling you, just saying that you was mafioso and saying that you were this and involved in that, I couldn't tolerate it. You've been like a father to me, and I had to do something. The guy that ran the football club extended his contract on the back of that. It was like, yeah, thank you, you're a good guy, and yeah. But it's one of the funniest. I heard about it because on a few years ago on Arsblog, he had the guy on that wrote the book. I think there was a book originally, and he was talking about that.
I remember that one.
I've been looking out for it ever since, and I found it on Amazon Prime, and it really is a good watch.
Nice.
I'm going to check that out as well.
Kaiser, the greatest footballer that never played or then never played like that.
There's a couple of things on Netflix people have probably already saw. The 89 documentary is really, really good. We probably all have seen that at this point on Netflix. And another one, Sunderland Till I Die. It gives a really, really good insight to what goes on behind the football club, agents, players, how they're feeling about things and all that good stuff. And, they were struggling that season as well. Not winning many games,
Have you guys seen the Man City one?
No, not yet. But I do want to hear Pep's softly spoken, guys.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was laughing. Guys.
So he is such a showman, right? He knows that the cameras are on him and he does his thing, right? Like all the time. He's like, dropping to the floor, like lying down, like trying to motivate. Shut up, everyone, shut up. Like, come on, man. But it's great to see like how that goes. And on the same thing, Benjamin Mendy, I think he's a great player. Plays really well when he plays, but now I sort of find him super irritating that he's never playing, but he's the first one to come out and sort of celebrate. He'll get Noel Gallagher and start singing Wonderwall and all of that, and I'm like, come on, mate, you didn't even play.
He sounds like the guy I was just talking about, that Kaiser guy. It's a similar kind of a vibe.
And,
Yeah.
Benjamin Mendy is one of the players who is self quarantining themselves right now as well. So big up Benjamin. So
Yeah.
he's one
So
of those people.
another guy, by the way, who we did not mention is Manu
Okay,
Gabbiadini, who
Gabardini.
we remember him, right? He used to play for Southampton, came from Napoli. He's in Italy now playing for some club, and he's also tested positive.
Yeah, yeah. So one more trivia question, and then we'll get out of here. We'll do our want to give a shout out to a few people as well, and then that's it. Last question, and we'll probably do trivia again next week. I think it's been fun. I think it sparked a lot of conversation, right?
Of
Um,
course.
here, here we go. Which Arsenal legend failed to reach the 100 club when stuck on 99 goals?
I know.
Dan knows.
That's always been I won't say the name, but that's always been. He was one of my favourite players as well. And when I saw him get stuck on 99, I was beside myself. I was like, can't I just keep him at the club until he gets 100? Because he scored quite regular as well, so it wouldn't have been that long. And I'm sure he must lie awake at night. It's not good for you if you've got ADHD to be a 99 and not a big round 100. That would keep me awake all night.
Yeah. Is he bothered about it, Stan? Does he bother about it? Is he
You'd think so, wouldn't you? You'd think that he'd be bothered about it.
Yeah. You're thinking of all those simple ones that you missed. You just got one of those.
99 is such a weird number to be left on.
A clue for everyone: he's in the media, and sometimes fans are not happy that he has to give his honest opinion about Arsenal. Tony, come on, Tony, you got to get one. Hopes is going to give you grief over this.
I went to his first game back when he had he had an enforced exile, which might be another clue. And I went to his first game back, which was a pre-season game, and it was against was it AC Milan, and it was Dennis Bergkamp's first game at Highbury. It was a pre-season, and also Paul Ince was playing because he was at AC Milan as well. Do you remember when he went over there?
Yeah,
I remember that game very well.
I remember a crazy clearance by, was it one of our defenders, Gus Caesar or something like that? A crazy clearance. That's just what I remember from that game.
But this was, it was a pre-season friendly, and this player that was stuck on 99, it was his first game back after his enforced exile. And when he came onto the pitch, on the scoreboard at Highbury, the digital scoreboard, the word hope came up, if I remember rightly as well.
Come on, Tony, you got it yet?
Nope.
And we were wearing a blue kit on the day, a blue third kit.
Rohan, how old are you, Rohan? You're a little younger, right? You're in your 30s?
Yeah, I'm 30. Yeah.
Next time we do trivia, I'm going to go for more recent questions.
I can give you another clue. I can do another clue, which might give it away.
Yeah. You'd have to remember old videos in 1993 Cup final.
That's quite a good clue, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's reveal it, Stan.
Paul Merson.
Paul Merson.
I mean, because he has to give his true opinion. If I had to take a guess, then it would have been Paul Merson.
That would be it, yeah. Paul Merson was a legend for Arsenal, playing from 86 to 1997. 99 goals were scored in all competitions before Arsene Wenger sold the Magic Man to Middlesbrough. So he went to Middlesbrough, and they had a decent team at that time, Stan.
Yeah.
Ramadali, what was his name? What were the guys' names?
Middlesbrough. Paul Gascoigne was there, wasn't he?
Middlesbrough, and they had Juninho.
And was Ravanelli there then as well?
Yeah, Ravanelli, the Silver Fox. Yeah. They called him the Silver Fox. Any final words before we close it out? Right here.
No, it's been fun. Thank you, Stan. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rohan. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tony. Thank you to
Yeah.
everybody in the chats.
I'm
Everybody
gonna
that's been
say. I'm
around
gonna say
watching the
also.
replay.
Excuse me for talking over everybody. I feel like I've been doing that a lot, but maybe the quiz master gets allowed to do that. I don't know. But I did. You never know what a podcast is going to be like when you start out. We're looking at it from the point of view we're trying to entertain some fellow football fans, some fellow Gooners that will stumble across this, our subscribers, fill in an hour or two of their lives to help them out to get through this tough time, while you should be self quarantining yourself a little bit. Rowan, what do you think?
I think this is great right now, since football is not on, or any sports is not airing. So we have to keep ourselves occupied. This is great. Hearing from fans all across the world. We're sitting in different parts of the world, chatting with each other. One thing that's in common is we love the club. With you guys, it's also great to hear some stories from before
Ancient
the
history.
Wenger
Yeah.
era, from before the Wenger era,
Yeah.
which is still like, like I said, I reveal my age, and then that's when I
I can
started
see
following,
the
and
two
then
young ones. One is there and one is there.
Down below. Yeah.
The
yeah.
two
So
young ones.
Rowan,
so
the funny thing is, Rowan and I are actually the same age. Oh, now
There you
I'm
go.
revealing my age. Excuse me, guys. Co-host.
Yeah, so it's great, and it's great fun to chat up with everyone, and yeah, look forward to doing this.
And
Anybody
you're right
who
as well, Rohan. Technology is a great thing. We're able to talk to people across the world through various apps. We're able to talk to our relatives. It puts us all at a finger's touch, and it's a great thing, especially when we're all cocooned in our own area. Going to go to Tony and Stan to finish it out. Tony.
It's nice to be able to connect to everybody. And for me, I've just been wondering, it'd be nice for EA to reveal how many people and how many hours have been spent on FIFA and different sports games the past week.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I bet those numbers are going through the roof.
And
Something
Stan
like
wants to know how many hours of Fortnite Oswald's played.
something like the meters of toilet roll that's being sold, right, Stan?
Yeah,
When
yeah. I
there's an
mean,
apocalypse, Stan, go get toilet roll. That's what you need.
yeah. I mean, it's good that. I mean, for me, the reason I actually come onto these podcasts is to talk to you guys. Is to talk to other Arsenal fans about Arsenal. I mean, the longer that football's away, I mean, I don't know. I mean, tune in 2 weeks, and I'll probably be doing a show on my favourite knitting patterns or something like that. I don't know.
We're gonna have to get creative.
We're
That's
gonna
for
be,
sure.
I can just see it now. Cooking with my hair. I don't know what we're going to be doing here. It's gonna be a bit,
Well,
we're going to have to
Stan,
be very creative over the next few weeks.
Stan,
But if you are, two more things. If you're looking for a couple of things to watch while we're in this lull of football, there's also a very good Maradona documentary that I watched quite recently. Really good. I mean, there's quite a few of them. I can't remember the title of it. It was the one that recently done well at the Cannes Film Festival, but it was really good. Even my missus sat down and watched it all the way through, and she was like, "The guy's a bloody nutter. Look at him." Very, very insightful. The other one that I'm watching, which is not even football, is the Formula One documentary on Netflix. I don't know if anybody else likes, enjoys Formula One, but season 2 is now on Netflix. I enjoyed season 1. I saw Rohan there nodding, and what I like about this season as well, I don't know if you've been watching it, Rohan. In season 1, there was hardly any involvement of the big 3 teams. There was hardly any involvement by Red Bull, Mercedes, or Ferrari, which I noticed. It was more on the mid-table teams. But they've got a lot to do with this second season. So if you enjoy your motor racing, I would encourage you to watch that. I find it very interesting to see behind the scenes.
What's it called again, Stan?
I think it's on Netflix. I think it's called F1.
Drive to Survive.
That's it. There you go. That's it. There
Good
you go.
stuff. Just room for a couple of shout outs. Like I mentioned, I'm defending the Scousers. Let the Liverpool people enjoy their 30 year. It's been 30 years, Dan. Come on. Want to big up Jack McIndoe, Dave, LFC chats, Doug, and a couple other people who did give a shout out to Mikel Arteta. There is humanity in football, and they're going to get that title. They just have to wait maybe 30 more days, right, Tony? Not 30 years. It's 30 days now, so they'll get it. Secondly, shout out to Hopes, who is doing things for his community. He couldn't join us today because he is doing
Top
things
man.
for people who are less fortunate than himself in his community. And that's what
Top
we
man.
need in this world. We all know that. We all need to take care of our people and elderly people. If you have a neighbor across the road, at least offer to go and get them some stuff because they are more vulnerable to this coronavirus than we are. Finally, to the four of you, Mahir, Stan, Tony, and Rohan, I want to thank you for your time. Um, it's become more and more valuable now as we are at home with our loved ones. So I want to appreciate all of you for joining me. And Stan, and I know it's early there, so thanks for coming in.
Thanks
Also,
for having me.
Glenn too, who couldn't stick around because of connection issues. But let me know. This is 2 hours now. Let me know if in the comments if you like this format. We'll definitely do more trivia. Knitting will be coming down the line with Mahir and Stan.
Cooking.
Uh, two old biddies knitting there. That'll be fun. We'll maybe
Cooking.
get into board games, you know. But until next time, this has been Arsenal Fan Circle. Hope you enjoyed this impromptu show. We don't have football to talk about. We will talk about football and other things still.